not only in my classes in English composition, but specifically for language training, because I was a Fulbright foreign language teaching assistant in University of Hawaii, Manoa, for 2 semesters, where with my supervisor, Dr. Sai Bhatodekar, we taught Hindi language. But we also ran our little dance group, which was called Aja Nachle every Sunday. So my students and we will just get together and we will dance. And I will show you a couple of pictures about that. And then specifically, we'll talk about Bollywood in a Hindi class with a couple of activities. Don't worry, I'm not going to make you dance, but I'm going to show you how to think about using cinema in a language class. Okay, what is Bollywood? I'm sure you might have heard something about Bollywood. This is just a very quick background. Bollywood is a Hindi language film industry, very specifically. That is one of many, and we'll get to it. It is based in Bombay and Mumbai. I'll show you the map where particularly it is based. It is one of the major Indian film industries. Now, it's very interesting. The word was definitely borrowed by Hollywood, which is debatable in our country. Some people think it's an easy term. Why not take it? But some people are like, why? Let's remove Western influences and let's come up with our own terminology. Well, we'll see what happens. The word actually first appeared in a crime novel, which was written by British author H.R.M. Keating in 1976. It had a detective inspector called Inspector Gaute, who was supposed to be very filmy. So filmy Inspector Gaute. In 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed. The Indian economy had to liberalize. That means it had to invite foreign investors, which also gave rise to global Bollywood. But before I go further, what have you heard about Bollywood? And it's absolutely okay if you haven't. Have you heard this term before? Okay, what does that mean to you? Or what have you done? Again, very good, of course. Like dance and Bollywood are synonymous. I absolutely agree. What else?
Music.
Music. Yeah. Okay, answer up quickly. But yeah, dance and music.
Very dramatic.
Very dramatic, melodrama, right? And we're going to come to that. That is the aesthetical foundation of our Indian film industry. That cannot be defined by Western realism. We know the songs are fake, so why do we appreciate it? And we will get to it. Anything else?
Lots of colors.
Lots of colors. See, that's why. I was like, if I have to introduce Bollywood to you, I should have the colors. Definitely. Lots of colors. A spectacle, right? A big production. Which is interesting because necessarily Bollywood started with not so much of a big production. And we will get to it. So one of the major things I really want to focus is on this. It's a map from Vox. If I show this to you, what stands out to you? How will you try to understand this? What does this entail? If so much was under European control.
Level north, level south.
Exactly. What does it do to information and communication, and especially film? So one of the things which is very important to understand, not only about knowledge production, but Bollywood is that it emerged during colonialism. The only film industry to survive and thrive. And when so much has been under European control, the information, the communication, the circulation gets affected, right? So we knew a lot about Western cinema, but it was not the other way around, right? Western European countries did not know much about Bollywood, even though it was producing large number of movies very quickly and pretty substantial range. So when I remember growing up, I also remember in my adulthood of looking at Bollywood as something which is not cinema yet. That is something scholar Madhva Prasad talks about. It is there, but it is not film yet. That's because we have always compared it to its Western counterpart. It has to be realistic. Why are so many people coming together and dancing? Okay, that's true. That's That's a fair question, but I'll get to it, why that happens. Hence, when you look at the distinction between East and West, according to Orientalism, Edward's side, you can see what those distinctions look like and how that affects the reception of the East, right? Something childlike, something not very serious, something not to be taken seriously. That affected definitely the reception of Bollywood by its Western counterparts, but not so much by Asian counterparts. Bollywood was already making strides in Philippines, in Vietnam, Japan, Korea. We have a movie called Love in Tokyo, but we'll get to it. This is where the Hindi film industry is located, Mumbai. It's just a small part of India, right? I really want to emphasize that earlier, when Bollywood industry was emerging as a Hindi film industry, these boundaries were very porous. That means filmmakers from Kolkata, I'm born and brought up here. This was very much, this all was united, one entity. It got split up during British colonialism. Hello. Then all the filmmakers were coming from here, even here, and here to Mumbai to make films. And one of the things they were doing is they were bringing oral traditions and folk tales on which we will make films. So you can see that our textbook reference of filmmaking was very much from our local culture. Now those boundaries are very strict, you will see, right? So South Indian film industry is a separate film industry, there is a Gujarati film industry, there is an emerging Bhojpuri film industry, but the boundaries are always porous. We have always welcomed people, not only actually from India. One of the very first collaborators in our film industry was a German filmmaker who made some of the very early films, much ahead of its time. Some background, Indian film industry, largest film industry in the world, and amongst this almost 2000, trust me, almost 80% is produced by Bollywood. First Indian film was a silent film, which is here. It was about King Harishchandra, was very much a truth-sayer, a very just king, and it came out in 1913. It is definitely a 100-year-old industry. And as I said, it was born during colonialism, so there is a lot of political anti-colonial stance in early Bollywood cinema. Moving ahead, this was our first talkie, the film which started the trend of making films with characters speaking. And hence, when they are speaking, you can do a lot with it. You can bring in dancing, you can bring all the local theater influences. So Bollywood is very much influenced by Farsi and Marathi theater. That's why a lot of expressions, right? Because in theater, you must make sure, as Brecht has also said, that, yeah, you have to divide between reality and performance. So it is very much rooted in local theaters. Moving ahead, as I said, Bollywood is located in Bombay and is specifically a Hindi film industry. So what are the other film industries? These are some of them. And it's still not a complete list. Some of the very emerging and very popular other film industries are Tamil. Malayalam is a film industry which needs more engagement with, and here's why. It is actually producing brilliant stories about African Indian solidarities, which is something I have been noticing recently, and I'm like, of course, as a cinephile and a film scholar, I'm going to get to it later. Kannada film industry is very popular, and hence Marathi, Gujarati, Punjabi. Bhojpuri is also coming at a tide. It's very much rooted still in the agrarian culture, which is very interesting. So what does this tell us? It is a complete cultural amalgamation. Lot of colors, lot of different rituals, lot of different dance patterns, and a lot of stories coming together, folded into one narrative. Does this make you feel hungry? Okay, what do we notice on this plate? A lot of food, different textures, right? Very famous Bollywood actor Abhishek Bachchan says that Bollywood is not a fixed genre. Imagine it like a thali, a plate full of Indian food, where all kind of different textures, colors combine together and create this burst of flavor in your mouth. Totally agree. So in a Bollywood movie, you will always find, not always, but mostly people dancing. You will find an action sequence, you will find a comedy sequence, and you're like, hey, what's happening? All of them come together to give you a central narrative. So don't be shocked when you're watching a very good rom-com, but suddenly an action scene comes in front of you. Don't get too shocked when you find the central actor and actresses starting their song and dance in Mumbai, but in the next shot they're in London. How did that happen? Time travel? Not really. What you need to understand is that through that entire song, their relationship has grown. Okay? And so why does this happen? Well, it's a long story. Okay. What I want to do now is a simple activity. You can pick any of these feelings, and I want you to express it through your facial expression only. You can't use words. Jason Christian, you want to try one? I'm sorry, I have to pick on my husband, but yeah. Okay, what feeling is he expressing? Angry?
Yeah.
We're going with angry? Good. That is so not you, but okay. Okay, what else? Anyone else wants to do anything else? I'm literally picking on my friends. I'm sorry.
This is the expression.
Oh, this is the expression? Oh, okay. I forgot. Yeah, happy. Great. Can somebody show me shocked or scared? Yes! Sad. Well, when I'm sad, it's a zero expression, so you guys will have to do it. Okay, great. Thank you for participating. I still am not good at expressing embarrassed. I'll have to practice better. Anyway, moving ahead. So what does this mean? As I said, a mix of emotions and feelings. The collection of images you see here is the foundation of Hindi film. It comes from Natya Shastra, the aesthetics of theatre. And all of these expressions you can find, what you can find in a theatre performance, can very well be found in a typical Hindi film. But here's the catch. The Hindi film style has also affected films from South, films from North India, everywhere. Okay? Definitely much better than me. Horror is interesting. That means, as I told you, the aesthetical foundation of Hindi film is this. Bhava means expression. And there is something called style bhava. You are engaging with the expressions of the actors on screen, and that is supposed to create these feelings in you. So if we are watching a love story, let's say the major rasa will be of love or erotic love, right? But you can have these smaller mini rasas around it too. As I said, somebody can be valorous, there can be a fight scene, but the central rasa remains the same. So for example, if you're looking at an action Hindi film, right? The central rasa will be valorous, but you can find some wondrous moments, some humor, some love. But there is a central rasa which defines a Hindi film. And around that, there can be smaller feelings surrounding it. How does it differ from its Western counterparts? Cognitive realism versus affective realism. So the centrality of a Hindi film is emotion. And, well, you can understand a country, a group of people who have gone through hundreds of years of colonization, and they get to make a film, enjoyment comes naturally. Okay? But we also have made very serious films too. So that is the foundational ethic. When it comes to language of Bollywood, of course we know there are words, right? But emotion, to emote your feelings is very important. Hence the melodrama, hence the expressions. Okay? These can be done through songs. Obviously, she is dancing. It's a great dancing number. I will show it to you. But in this particular film, which is called Jewel Thief, well, the jewels I think are enough to tell you, is that she knows a secret of this man she's dating, that he's a spy. But she can't tell it. But there is a performance and she has to perform. Okay? In the same way, whenever you watch a film, this emotive phase is very important. That means sadness or depression or anything is something cannot be explained just via words. Before words, the pre-word matters, and hence suggestions. So, for example, in a lot of Hindi films, I remember some of my friends were watching a very old Hindi film, and two roses came together and just got together on the street. I'm like, why are they showing this? Why can't they show the husband and wife just embracing or loving or, or being intimate? I'm saying because suggestion can be important, also sensible. You can't show everything. So hence the roses suggest this is, uh, you know, these are lovers uniting in intimacy. So these suggestions through expressions and songs really matter in a typical Hindi film. I say a typical Hindi film because, as you know, there are many changes which are happening recently. I will stop here, and one of the things what her song is saying is that, oh my God, I know something which I can't talk about because if I talk about it, that all hell is going to break loose. So you can see her expressions actually convey those meanings. होठों पे ऐसी बात में दबा के, so I'm like really pressing myself not to speak, and if it becomes an open secret, all hell is going to break loose. Well, I don't know if the hell will break loose like this, but yeah, the meaning is very much expressed through these words, and that is one of the ways I have included songs and dance forms like this in the language classes. That let's just translate it into English and see what you can do. Moving on. Sorry. I'm not going to play this because I'm so afraid of all the ads going to play. But this is the song here. Come to me, my love. Let me love you. I offer my fair arms to you. Why are you sad with dry lips and with thirsty eyes? Sorry. This is where, as a class in Hawaii, elsewhere, we have engaged with thinking about how can you express this without using words. And students come up with very genius ideas on how to express those. I'm sorry, is there water? I think
I'm trying to get you the water. What is the hot water? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's really great.
It's old.
Oh, okay.
But I don't have water. Cold juices, which I should have. I'm so sorry. Is this clear so far? How will you express come to me, my love? It can be expressed in many ways. See, Stuart, you're getting it, man. I can't believe you because you've attended this Bollywood, thank you so much, Bollywood session so many times. Now you get the movement of the hands and arms, and that was a very exactly come to me, my love, right? And that is one of the exercises which are really popular with students. Well, you get the gist. So, why are songs and dance important, right? Because there are coded messages. Just like, I have something I know, I can't talk about it, but look at my expressions. Somebody asked me, so. Okay. And that is something which has been popular in Hollywood too. Sorry. Stars like Britney Spears, Shakira, Pussycat Dolls, they have incorporated Bollywood dance and music into their songs. I'm forgetting Britney Spears' song. What was it called? I think it's Toxic. I don't know. We are also the people who have done cross-dressing very well and for a very long time. On the left, you have the famous actor Shami Kapoor. That's like a curtain. On the right, what's the name of this actor? I'm forgetting. Vishwajit. And Babita, famous actress dressed as a man and engaging in songs and everything. This is borrowed directly from performative arts. I myself, while growing up, have done many played many male characters on theater and on stage. Let's come to another key distinction between Bollywood in terms of languages. So far, I told you it's about songs and dance. Earlier Bollywood films, Hindi films, were made in a language called Hindustani. That is a blend of Hindi, Urdu, Persian, Arabic, Sanskrit, Turkish. Now, especially now in this time, I think after 2000, mid 2000s, you will find movies very much in standardized Hindi, only rooted in the Sanskrit language. Okay, and that is a shift. And that is why you will find many scholars saying that, hey, let's define Bollywood more with the Hindi distinction of language and not look at the Hindustani language. But guys, Hindi has always been an amalgamation of that. Hindi as a language itself has always been an amalgamation of Arabic, Urdu, Persian words. Okay, I mean, I myself have hardly used the standardized Hindi words and sentences while growing up. So the script looks different. One is Nastaliq and one is Devanagari. So Hindi is rooted in this script. Okay, so Ankita, I will use this, Ka, and so on and so forth. And as I told you, Hindustani uses a bunch of other words. So these are some of the examples. Shukriya is very much rooted in Persian. It's a Persian word. In Hindi, it will be dhanyavad. Zindagi, also derived from Persian. Jivan will be more standardized Hindi, rooted in Sanskrit. Uh, Let me think of, yeah, Khuda Hafiz. That's also actually a Hindi film, Khuda Hafiz. So what I'm trying to tell is that just like Bollywood, the boundaries of languages have been very porous because the Indian subcontinent, as you know, through foreign invaders and rulers coming, they also brought their language and culture. So our culture, I like to call it just like New Orleans gumbo. It's a mix of everything, and we really enjoy it. It is truly diversity unified. Inshallah is something so common. Chai comes from Persian and also from the Chinese word cha. Sorry, folks, can't really claim that this is Hindi, right? And also masala. Masala has Persian and Arabic roots. It gives existential crisis to Hindi lovers, can't help it, can I? Okay. Moving on, these are some of the other words which are very much rooted in Urdu. And guys, I mean the word zinda, this thing, alive, we use it so commonly, we don't even realize it is Urdu. So let me ask you one thing before we move on. What is the role of film in a language classroom? Have any one of you engaged with that previously, films or TV, in terms of language learning or teaching? Oh, great. So, how does that help? What has been your insight into the role of films or TV?
For me, when I was in French class, watching French films made me more enthusiastic about the culture itself.
Yes,
Just like
very
actually buying into the value of learning the language.
exactly. Yeah, that's a very good point. Same goes with Hindi. If I just come to a class and they're like, hey, here are the words, and we're just going to use basic conversation, it can become very dull. Because generally the questions all the students ask, it's like, hey, what are some of the cultural nuances you can tell us? Also, right now, Hindi and English is emerging in India a lot, and we will get to it, right? That has a whole specific stardom into it. And films can be a better way. For myself, when I was growing up, you have no idea how much English I learned just by watching sitcoms like Friends or Tom Cruise movies, because those were the only movies which were being exported. Tom Cruise, very popular in the Indian setting. The one thing I have used very successfully in my classes, and I recommend, is dialogue Bazi. Hindi films are filled with dialogues. And dialogues means the phrases, the sentences that stay with you. Even if you have watched a movie like 10 years ago, that is one of them. He is a gangster, a don, international, smoking a cigarette. And that is one of the finest actors of Bollywood, Amitabh Bachchan. And he says, Dawn को पकड़ना मुश्किल ही नहीं, नामुमकिन है. To imprison Dawn is not only difficult, but impossible. And of course, mushkil is an Arabic word. But what I'm also trying to tell you, that this dialogue in itself will not have that much effect unless it is connected with this particular context of the film. So one thing I've done in my classes is to make my students imagine, to show a couple of clips from this movie, Dawn, and let them imagine you are a ruthless gangster, but you're also very suave. Think of yourself as James Bond. Okay? Then you practice the dialogue. And initially, if I'm doing in Hindi 101, I don't really emphasize on the difference of the R. The R sounds would be very different. My last name has two different R's, and when I can't pronounce it, so it's fine. And then once we have practiced, once we bring this madness to our language, this melodrama to language acquisition, it becomes an enjoyable process. And when I did it in Hawaii, I can't tell you how many versions of the dialogue I got. One was definitely very much like this. One was just with a menacing laugh. And so for me, introducing famous dialogues has been a very tried and tested tool in language acquisition. Same with this. Oh, who doesn't love Shah Rukh Khan? He's another one, famous actress of Bollywood, very, very popular. He again plays a negative character in this film, who's very small, very likable. And again, the name of the movie comes from Persian, which means acrobat, which is very interesting. So there is also a lot of space for telling your students about sense translation. That okay, Bazigar means acrobat, but what does that word mean when you look at a movie like that? So I've used clips from these movies, and we have sat together, we have practiced dialogues, while also looking at what happens to a language, a particular word when it has traveled to another continent. Oh, this is one of my favorite activities. Again, this is a part of a song, but generally, I ask my students, if you have to express adha, incomplete, just by using expressions or your body language, how will you do it? How will you do adha, incomplete, or half? You like this? Right? And then the moon. So how are we going to express the moon? The moon is incomplete. So we break into this very language-oriented dance moves, and then we have recorded this, shared it on YouTube, and done it as a class project. Okay? I wonder if our conversation is also going to remain incomplete and to give the expression of contrast. And this has also eased a lot of tension for a lot of international students of mine who want to learn the language Hindi, who are a little bit shy, very anxious, because you can have students of different calibers in the class, right? And that is one of the ways to ease their tension. Bring them together, use Bollywood, let them do whatever they want to do with the songs and dialogues, and see what they create. Oh, sing along. Another things I have done is just introduce them to two sentences, two phrases of a song, the initial phrases, and we just sing along. And it has been such a wonderful journey doing that. And this comes from, obviously, my Fulbright supervisor, Dr. Saidhat Vadekar's class, because after a class, we'll just get together, and even though there will be different pronunciations, we are just singing together. So, for example, a student might pronounce kaha differently from another student. So it doesn't give you the pressure of being judged who is better. We are just singing together. Everybody's different voice, different ways of speaking is coming together, and we are realizing who cares for perfection. We are having fun, which literally means where are we going alone? And we will do this after our class because from US Manoa, you can walk straight away to Ala Manoa Beach. And sometimes we'll be like, let's walk over there. And while we are walking on a very long walk, we are singing this song. But hey, where are you going along? Take me with you. Oh, this is an incredible song from the film Shri Char Sobis, which was it was a 1955 film starring the actor who is known as the Charlie Chaplin of India. And in this song, he says, "My shoes are from Japan, my pants are from England, the red hat from Russia, but still, my heart is from India." And this is one example we have used expressions from these songs and the letters. So one of the ways has been that, yeah, you can look where he's pointing to his hat and to his heart, and you can understand how to express through these songs. And my students have also dressed as Charlie Chaplin and came and we have done the songs together. One of the other things when I was in Hawaii, we did, which we created schools of famous Bollywood films. That means, in fact, Dr. Bhatwatekar created a school of Titanic, where at the end, Rose and Jack both are alive. They hop on a boat and make it safely while eating samosas. And I thought that was a brilliant tradition. And then we took Sholay, but we made it into a recyclable Sholay. Ramulilu, which is Ramlila, which was our own Bollywood rendition of Romeo and Juliet, but we made a spoof out of it called Ramulilu in Honolulu. And we queered it up so, and I will also show you the images from that. One of our students, Jordan, would show up in the class dressed like Leela, and we will have fun with that, and we will think about our script and everything. And this is what Dr. Bharpadekan has to say, that watching and discussing films, piecing, simplifying, rephrasing dialogue, subtitling, it gives a lot of agency to language learners because they feel like, okay, I don't have to constantly think about where am I in terms of my fluency. There are many other ways I can bring my learning, my expertise on the table. And we do it specifically to challenge the hegemony of Western language methodologies. If Bollywood drama, a madness, animatedness is very much useful and key for Hindi language, which is also very much rooted in how the West perceived our animated culture for a long time, right? How it is wild, there's a wild zone. So through by doing this, we reclaim our wild zone. And we're like, okay, let's make the best use of the madness of Bollywood. English is this. As you can see, it includes Pushpa, I hate tears. This is such a famous dialogue from a film called Amar Prem, the love that lasts forever. आज मेरे पास बंगला है गाड़ी है बैंक बैलेंस है so you see a mix of Hindi and English words मैं अपनी favorite हूँ I'm a favorite of myself or something yeah and by doing this, by showing these examples, we have collectively came together with learners, with language learners in the class, in thinking about first, where is the language heading? What does it mean to have English? Does that mean that we are losing the roots of our Hindustani language? But also making it clear and create a distinction between how languages in urban areas form differently than, say, the countryside. And hence, again, example of some of the famous dialogues from the movies. Last but not the least, I quote some of the very important points that Dr. Bhatwatekar makes in her essay, From Pedagogy to Positive Peace. One of the things she says that, especially when it comes to less commonly taught languages, creative projects address concerns about integrating heritage and non heritage learners very well. So, culture becomes a very important component on language acquisition. Creative and humorous tasks, as I told you, it brings people of different proficiencies on a level playing field. And their different traits and personality traits can be utilized in language acquisition and also sometimes I feel culture acquisition. They also learn about the culture through mimicking. And of course, the sarcastic, the melodramatic, the absurd. And one of the ways I've done this, that yeah, I have shown them a script. We have created a script which is very much rooted in Hindi language, but we have assigned character traits which are different which can be Western, which can be according to their Asian background, whatever. They have produced fusion works, as I said, madness to the method. Performance-based language teaching can be a really important tool. Bring in performances, let them take agencies. It breaks hierarchies. They love when the professor themselves join them. And it's like, okay, let's create something fantastic out of this. And this is us back in Honolulu. This was our Sunday dance practice. This was us after an Indonesian culture dance night. And this is my favorite, one of my very favorite students, and Jordan, who is playing Lilu in our spoof with who is playing Juliet in our spoof on Romeo and Juliet. Uh, And this is one of the very famous dialogues from a Bollywood Western in 1975. Bollywood gave us this iconic villain character. Can I just show it to you? Hopefully, there are no comments. If not, I can just play it. This was my last segment for you. And maybe we can take note on intonation, mannerisms, and expressions. Let's see if it plays. Oh, sorry. So I wanted to show one of these examples can be looking at intonation, where his voice is fluctuating, where it is going high and low, and for what. And this is the dialogue. So Gabbar is a dacoit. He has sent three of his men to take care of these two um, men from the neighboring village who is trying to make his business hard. So he's like, hey, go and take them and imprison them and bring them here. And that is the scene where he's like, how many men were there? And the man says, there were two. And then Gabbar says, son of pigs, you were three and they were two and still you came back. The letters that I put in bold is where your intonation matters. So for example, kitne means how many. Kitne, as you saw in the video. Kitne आदमी थे, and then the rest of it fall flat. Would you like to try the dialogue, Jesse? Kitne.
Itene.
Perfect. Good one. Okay. And then the man says, Sardar, because that's where your intonation goes high. Sardar, would you are because he's a she. Two. The army. The army. Because he's also a dacoit in a village. So he has those countryside mannerisms that comes into it. Okay, the next one is where it was really angry, right? So what and that is something I have done in classes previously, that making them understand, showing them that scene, transliterating it in English, and then understanding that where are the parts we can show our emotions, and what does that do? So that is an iconic scene which you can definitely use in your classes. And something you can also do is let your students do the sense transliteration and come up with the translations of the dialogues. And I can't believe that is it, folks. These are the references I used. Okay, I'm done. I'll be happy to answer any questions or anything that you have.
I want to ask, what does the Namokkan mean? Since you said
Oh.
innovation, like
Yes.
might be
Namumkin. Namumkin is impossible.
Namokkan is possible.
Mumkin is possible.
Yeah.
So the Dawn's dialogue became, and that's the power of the Hindustani language. You know, I mean, imagine the language. If I say, Dawn ko pakarna mushkil hi nahi, kathin hi nahi, the kathin doesn't have the power that makes this dialogue so iconic. You know, so this blend of Hindi and Urdu also gives the Bollywood movie the beauty of its dialogue, the iconic dialogue. And it's very interesting because recently I'm teaching a Bollywood class at Georgia Tech, and my students are talking about this. I thought, why don't we remember these new songs now? Why don't we remember any of the dialogues of these new movies? And we realized when we brainstormed that the beauty of the language has very much been overtaken by style. So there is hardly any focus on dialogue. A character is revealed through dialogue, through conversation. Now you watch films like Pathan, no offense to Shah Rukh Khan, I'm a huge fan. You are in Dubai on top of a tank, uh, blowing helicopters of the rival country. And I'm like, okay, you know, can we know more? So the earlier spy films, for example, have differed from these kind of films, where a character and their intentions are revealed through conversation. And that's why that has been very helpful in teaching language. Even when I teach Hindi, like I'm teaching Bollywood now, and we just did that iconic scenes and kind of giving it a spin. We went over the movies. Because those are not only iconic, that is also something very much rooted in nostalgia. We go back to the things we grew up with. We go back to the things that our parents have watched. And that is definitely a difference.
I just develop coordinates.
Yes.
Like it's all similar to my. It makes
Exactly.
it easier and show them the cross cultural.
Exactly. So, for example, one of my students is a Urdu speaker. So, whenever she is introduced to such dialogue, she said, "Oh, this is fantastic because I carry two of the languages I grew up with together." And it automatically becomes not only the beauty of Indian culture, because hello, we have been very much rooted in Urdu and Persian, as I told you. Uh, but it's also like it gives them ease. And we have translated in like very standardized Indian, they're like, oh, maza nahi aa raha there's no enjoyment, there's no spice. And I'm like, that's interesting, connecting it to spice. Where is the spiciness of the language we are bringing? But yeah, I mean, that's why these old iconic films are so important as a tool. Yeah,
Thank you so much for bringing
of course.
So we learn a lot about the strategies, we can do this discussion. What do you think that challenges teachers
In language teaching, definitely. I think, well, I'll be very honest with you. When I was in Hawaii, I taught Hindi 101 and 102. Um, and in 101, our main focus was more culture centric than this pressure on knowing the language. So what we did, we very much gathered around what culture is, what Indian culture is. But our aim was to learn numbers, colors, and learn the conversational thing. Like when my students will come, hi, how are you? What did you do yesterday? And explaining your day. So what really helped me was not being too ambitious. Because when I tried to be too ambitious with the language class, it was very difficult to balance the culture component and the language acquisition component. Because personally speaking for myself, my intention or my focus has been mostly on creating a comfortable zone for my different students. Because I was not only getting students who are of Indian ethnicity, I have students from Nigeria who love Bollywood, who are like, I just love Bollywood. Bollywood is huge in Nigeria. Can I learn? I have students who are Hawaiian. So for me, my intention was that how can we create a classroom where you're, you're intrigued by the language, but not only by the language component and the word and semantics itself, about the culture too. Okay? So we would, one of the exercises we'll do, we'll walk around the campus and we'll just learn Hindi of the things we'll see. Oh, that's a tree, pear. Oh, that's a coffee. And I said, well, let's just say coffee because we didn't have coffee. So we practiced English. And I think that will be my answer to you. One of the challenges was really making sure what I'm going for and what are the learning objectives. And then one or two definitely they ramped it up because those students were prepared. They were like, okay, let's read short stories or poetry or whatever, and let's dive deeper into the language and scripting and everything. Does that answer your question?
So for that course, did you not have a set textbook? You had your own?
Actually, we designed our own materials too. So when I went there, there was already a great website of Indian Indo-Pacific languages which we would use. And one of the textbooks that actually helped was Rupert Snell's textbook on Hindi, which has been very helpful. Um, in just like making the career with like, oh, these are the development scripts. So using it a little bit in the first level and then amplifying it in the second. But majorly, it was very much focused on hands-on understanding through phrases, through conversation, creating our own conversations too. And the same was then used as a motive for the next class, which is something I still prefer doing, giving students the agency to create learning materials on their own. And then my job with my supervisor was to really do the class in which they can practice some writing and really understand what they have to do. But yeah, if it comes to like one textbook, I would join Robert Sinners. And if you don't question this.
I want to try the singing along. I
Oh,
posted online, but I'm gonna try it. Maybe singing happy birthday song together. I love this idea.
Do you want to try the dialogues? Pushpa, I hate tears. So I will give a context here. You know, the main actor is like, sadly, he is sick with cancer. He's about to die, but he also wants to live his life to the fullest. So when this woman is crying, it's just, this iconic Rajesh Khanna, the manager, Pushpa, I hate tears. So this whole head knot, and also explaining head knots for the Indian culture can be a great tool too. But let's do singing along if you want to. That would be great.
I think it might work.
Do you want to try this song? Sure.
She made her class,
That's all about them.
We can, I mean, then you can take it in your class and do it, but why not? Okay. So my shoes, mera juta. My shoes, okay, hai. Mera juta hai. Java. Okay, let's do only one sentence. मेरा जूता है जापानी जूता है जापानी my grandfather very singers I have the pants okay and these are definitely not English but ये पतलून पतलून not pantaloon पतलून ये पतलून इंग्लिस्तानी so Hindustani English you could already say okay now let's say it together मेरा जूता है जापानी ये पतलून इंग्लिस्तानी सब पे लाल टोपी रूसी फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी मेरा जूता है जापानी ये पतलून इंग्लिस्तानी सर पे लाल टोपी रूसी फिर भी दिल है हिंदुस्तानी
Lord, that's how it is.
Okay, yeah, exactly. Great singers in the group. And there is also this famous song in Bollywood which is एक दो तीन चार पाँच छः सात आठ and I've used this to teach numbers because that is literally numbers. The singer is going from one to no this bar. That's why she goes on the numbers. So music and rhythm has been very useful because what I told my students is like obviously they're going to learn more numbers, right? But let's focus on the music. And once they focus on the music, they become so at ease. They don't have the fear that a native speaker is going to judge me. And I understand that, right? If I have a student from England who's like, oh my God, there's a power hierarchy. I don't want to mispronounce something. And it puts them on the same level. This is language. Let's just enjoy. And I'm a big fan of that contentment, the happiness, as in the portrait. That once you're at peace, once you know that this is a space for creating positiveness, for creating community, it becomes very easy for you. Will be surprised how many of them just then volunteer to do stuff. And along with that, I also would recommend because as I taught them, we met 2 days a week, but I would also hold extra communication hours that we are just sitting outside in the nature and talking. Honolulu was interesting because it would rain anytime, so we had umbrellas all the time. But just being out in the nature, outside the room of a classroom has also been very helpful. So that is something I would do, uh, especially in the 2 more days that we are meeting for an hour and doing it like a language talk. And then whoever were interested, they would then show up for the dance routine. And we are just dancing. It's not like nobody's perfect. This idea that Bollywood dancing, you really need to know your steps. Actually, no. When you actually watch the older movies, people are just moving. One of the dance steps is this. Who doesn't know? So, and so when I showed this to my students, they're like, oh, this is interesting. Because right now, whatever moves we see, it's like, wow, these are acrobatic moves. I was like, no, you cannot differentiate inside this. Everybody gets to dance. And this became one of our mantras.
Now, I tell my kids, this is the natural metronome. They play music, I'm like, get back to the metronome, here you are.
Oh my god, this is excellent. You have done that. You have done this. And, it's very interesting because I showed them this movie of a revolutionary, Asian revolutionary Bhagat, and I showed them the song that he is doing a play in front of the Britishers who were there in his village. And he's singing a song of resistance. But his dance is nothing. You know what his dance is? It's like this. Why? Because this exudes power. And this. Right? So, that's it. And how am I going to make my colonizer scared? Just by maintaining the gates and singing in Hindi. The language which they can't understand. Interesting? Absolutely. Okay? And so when they have seen that collectively how people get, one of the dance steps was just all the men going like holding their hands. And this gives you the collective power. Or the very famous song of RRR. Have you seen that? This movie just got wildly famous. It won all the Oscars and everything. And my students are like, how does it do that mean thing? Can you teach us? And it became such a cultural tool. I taught them. I was like, okay, my knees are not that strong. I'll do it. So yeah, definitely. Like your body expresses or communicates beyond words too. And then when you do this and combine the words, you get the emotions conveyed very properly. So this is the way we can really take this separate segments and combine them together for a language class. So that's what I'm doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. See, you guys already learned the song. So that's what it meant, that's our
We have, we have any questions?
Unless you want to teach your dance.
Excellent.
Okay, so we have about, the next session will start, 11, and then the night refreshment will be here around 10:30. So please feel free to networking and get to know each other.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much for your.
Oh my God, this has been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. This is my passion, this is what I do.
And the next section, we're gonna have a little lunch, right? And then the next section is gonna be VR in the instruction, in technology, in curriculum. So if you're interested in VR and technology with curriculum instruction, please say. Okay. Thank you.